Would you like to reduce your net fleet fuel spend by 10 to 23%? Could you use that money in other areas in your company while reducing your carbon footprint at the same time? Click the link below and learn more. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Freight Executive Insights. I'm Michael Vincent. I am not the freight executive with the insights, but I do have Thilo Huelmmann. Did I do that right?
Almost.
Almost right. Dang it. I can never get the umlauts correct, but it's Thilo Huelmmann, and he'll teach you how to pronounce it. It'll just take you an hour. But I'm really excited to have you on here because I love talking about and geeking out over nascent technologies and new technologies. And one of the big things is AI. And you're a co-founder and running Levity. Tell us about Levity, Thilo. Welcome to the program, my friend.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for having me. I can do a quick intro, and then we can jump right in and talk a little bit about AI and what's hype, what's real.
Yeah, fantastic.
So I'm one of the two founders, as you can probably hear, with a German background, where we started the company 5 years ago out of Berlin, Germany. And recently made the move to the US, opening up an office in Chicago very soon. And have been focused on more and more, let's say, higher value tasks as these AI models improve. And right now, the main types of use cases that we do for our customers in freight and logistics is helping them process their incoming emails in a more efficient way. So a lot of them have many emails, especially if you're an intermediary like a freight broker or forwarder, right? You have to deal with hundreds or thousands of emails every single day. And we just sit between the email inbox and other systems like the TMS, and we make sure that that data is flowing a little bit more naturally and faster, and people have to do less manual work.
So that is really, really interesting stuff, and I love it. For an application, it's tremendous. But you said you focus on higher level stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Higher level tasks, which is cool because a lot of people would consider managing their inbox a low level mundane task. In fact, it's something that people laugh about. They say, "Hey, I got my inbox to 0 today."
Yeah,
and then they laugh. Tomorrow it'll be 1,000 of them. But as far as value, there's nuggets of gold inside those emails that are probably missed because of the mundane nature of managing thousands and thousands of them, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's multiple levels to this, and maybe I should rephrase higher level. I don't mean, strategic decision making or anything like that. It's more like it is actually the mundane work, but when we started, models were way less capable, these AI models, and the best we could do was, for example, categorizing incoming requests and, sorting your emails more efficiently. But then you still had to work on every single thing. And nowadays, you can take this much further, and you can actually automate a bunch of steps like, copy pasting information from an email into another system in the right way, even if, certain information isn't mentioned explicitly or not mentioned in the right way. That's where this comes in, right? Because every shipper is contacting you in a different way, right? One might send you PDF attachments, the next sends you an email formatted in that way, and then next time it's a different format, right? So it's very difficult to automate this in, let's say, rule-based templated way, and you need actually something that's smart enough in order to bridge that gap. And then there's also a bunch of side effects to this, because once you start getting better insights into what's actually happening in your email inboxes, you can also start making better decisions on top of that, right? Because you might better understand where certain blind spots in your business are if you have the visibility of what's happening in the inbox. Whereas right now, if you want to create the same visibility, you actually would have to read every single email from every single person in your company in order to understand what's actually happening.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, the implications of gathering the data from the impacts of the different interactions, inbound and outbound, is of tremendous value. That's like did you go after that first, or was that kind of like, we could get this as well?
No, actually, we didn't start with it. It was basically happening on both ends of what we were doing, because I mean, it's always helpful to explain it on a real, tangible example. So let's take, for example, quoting, right? A lot of the quoting pieces are happening before it enters a booking or a TMS system, basically, right? Because
Yeah.
a lot of back and forth via email. Someone asks for a rate, and then someone looks at the email and they answer with a rate. Then there's some negotiation, and then ultimately there's a booking. But these steps are pretty much a black box, right? You don't really know what's happening there. You only know what enters your system in the end. And when we ask our customers, hey, can you tell us how many of those requests do you get? How many do you quote? How many do you win? Very little, very few people knew the answers to those questions. It was made it a little bit more difficult for us to explain to them, hey, you're actually leaving this much money on the table because you're not quoting everything that you get, or you're not quoting the right things. So that visibility was actually lacking for us to make the case of why this could be valuable for them. And then at the same time, once someone was already onboarded and running the solution, all of this data that was being produced throughout the automation, they said, hey, can I actually get access to this? And we started pushing the information to their analytics solution, like a Power BI or Tableau or Looker, these kinds of tools. So we realized, okay, there's actually valuable information being gathered when this is deployed, and it helps you to understand what you actually need to deploy. So let's make this an actual product, and let's help people understand, first of all, in the beginning, before they do anything, what's actually happening in their inboxes. What kinds of requests are they getting the most? What kinds of things are their team spending the most time on? Maybe there is a specific customer that takes up a lot of operational resources versus other customers that don't. Things like that, right? And if the information is locked up in those inboxes, you can then make them, make that information visible.
And I would imagine there's success rates of specific types of reactions to requests too, to kind of statistically map that out as to what are the best types of responses as well.
Yeah, you can do that. I think usually the improvements you can make are on a different level most of the
Mm,
times, right? Where it might be that you realize, oh, we're not winning these shipments because we don't have the best prices here, right?
yeah.
And maybe we can do something about it by improving our carrier network for these kinds of shipments or these kinds of lanes.
Yeah. So
Um,
not specifically within the email interaction, but
yeah,
just normal, take it outside the box. Okay, our services, they need these services instead of those services, etc.
exactly.
I was looking at the misinterpretation of requests as something that would help it uh, be that kind of improvement in communication. Right? They asked this, and we communicated that way, and there seems to be a trend there. If you communicate a different way, maybe that opens up
Yeah,
another door uh, to add something in there, a value add that you didn't think of, type of thing.
yeah. I mean, if you're specifically in customer satisfaction, customer, if you're monitoring, how well an
Yeah.
account is going for you, you have to go to the source, right? And ideally, you do that on a daily basis instead of running, quarterly surveys and hope that you get insights from that. If you can actually get an aggregate understanding of what's going on every single day by analyzing every single email, that will help you also identify, if a customer is at risk of churning, right? Because maybe they're not getting the level of service that they're expecting, or there have been some, fuck ups around some shipments with them. Things like that you can understand better as a leader, right? Because you're not in every single conversation every single day, right? You might be in some conversations with some important customers, but ultimately you trust your team to do good work, and you should do that, right? But at the same
Of
time, you
course.
also need to understand where the white spots are, right, and where you can do better. And yeah, unless everyone just knows it, right, from anecdotal evidence, you don't really have the data.
So No, 100% agree. I understand that completely. Does this remove the human interaction with the emails, or is this like an add on, assistant to ensure there's more efficient translation or interpretation of data? Because you mentioned, they different customers communicate the exact same information in totally different ways, right?
Mm.
Um, so does this remove uh, the human from it, or does just assist the human doing it much more efficiently and not missing something that they might, because hey, this one's in a JPEG and this one's actually an
Mm.
attachment of a Excel file, and this, that type of thing.
Yeah, I mean both in some regard. So let's say you have a certain type of request and you get that 1,000 times, and maybe someone looking at it today takes 5 minutes every time such a request comes in. That is 5,000 minutes every month that is being spent on that task, right? And most of the times we see people spending an hour to 2 hours every single day on this kind of work. Now, that doesn't mean that, a tool can just come in and just completely do everything.
Yeah,
Right?
right, right.
We're not there yet, right? Maybe in a
Yeah.
couple of years.
Yeah, but
Um,
you're at least getting to the point where it's going to separate it to spam and social and all that stuff, but in an accurate manner. Because, like what you said before, my inbox does that in a really poor way right now.
mm,
It's not good at all. Because how many times a week do I still hear, "Well, check your spam folder," and there it
yeah,
is, right?
yeah. Well, and you can do a lot of prep work, right? So you can immediately, when something comes in, even on weekends or at 2 a.m., the system can look at it, already identify what it's about, what needs to happen, do some prep work around that you know unit of work, and then just
Yeah.
present to the human, hey, this is what I did. Does that look good to you? Already put out a draft in the email. Maybe the human goes in and adjusts that draft, or adds additional information, and then sends out the email. But maybe from the 5 minutes that it takes the human to do, you now cut it down to 2 or 1 minute. And through that you get these efficiency gains, but it usually doesn't mean it's 100% human or 100% AI, right?
No, well, and that's what I was looking for, is because that human interaction, I think, is still very, very important, because I can most of the time tell very, very quickly that something was just AI generated. Just no, they didn't write that.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And now I see people, I suspect that some people misspell things on purpose so that you know that it's not AI, to tell you the truth. In some cases, I kind of suspect that every once in a while. So you tell me, like over the weekend or whatever, I'm out and then I get this message back, and it can go out and look for information that might be part of the answer, right? And so I don't have to go search all my different files and stuff. And on the first, it can say, "Hey, this is probably what they're looking for. Here's what they're looking for. I found it over here," right?
exactly. Yeah. So you need to, of course, also set up those sources of information, right?
Sure.
So
Yeah.
the inbox itself is a good start, right? You can already get some good stuff from there, but then you need to connect basically everything else that a human would also look at, right? As long as it's some sort of software that they can pull up, there's also a good chance that there is a programmatic interface for an AI to tap into and fetch basically the same information, and then put it all together into something presentable, and also act on your behalf. So let's say an order is coming in and you need to enter that order into your system. Well, a lot of that is very, very repetitive, and you can just you know you can verbalize it in a standard operating procedure, saying, hey, this needs to go here into that field, right? And if you copy this here, right? So you can really standardize these kinds of things. And
Hmm.
if that is the case, there's also a good chance that you can automate quite a few of those steps for the human.
It's amazing. I see the application of this as huge, even on the personal level, right?
Mhm.
Verification and authentication of emails and what you should react to and shouldn't react to, right? Because even on your personal email, you get so much stuff that it would be a tremendous help. Like, my phone will say potential spam is X, right?
Mm.
Um, which isn't super efficient, but it's pretty good. But then the email, and I'm talking about like, the decision makers of the world, where I've talked about it before, where I wonder how many important ideas or interactions that decision makers, higher level decision makers in companies miss because
Mm.
of the gatekeeper of their emails keeping things away, right?
Yeah.
And I see this type of technology as being something that could possibly filter that and go, hey, look, this actually looks like it might be a good idea. Something like that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, talk about, Mr. Wonderful or Mark Cuban or somebody like that who gets pitched 1,000 times a day, right? That happens to leaders of industry as well. Your Brad Jacobs, your Shelley Simpsons, etc. They get people trying to get in touch with them every day. This could be a great filter for something like that as well. But just going down rabbit holes of where this goes. Why logistics? Why are you applying this, or do you apply it to other industries, but logistics is one of them?
Um, when we started out, we didn't have that very laser focus that we have today. My co-founder is actually from a logistics background.
Mm,
He was one of the early employees at a by now quite large freight forwarder in Germany, mostly I think ocean freight. And so he does have that background, but we started a little bit broader and didn't have a specific focus. But then at some point realized, hey, this just works really really well, and especially if you're talking about intermediaries like brokerages and forwarders, but also carriers, right? Um, they all get bombarded with emails every single day, just because it's very difficult to standardize a lot of the things so that we have one unified data structure that everyone is following and everybody's using one of 5 transport management systems and stuff like that.
yeah,
It remains very fragmented and very nuanced across the board, and we realized it's, I mean, in certain ways it's a feature, not a bug, right? It's supposed to be that way, or it's inherently that way. But there are ways to make everyone's life a little bit easier by translating between the different players in the market. And usually that
mm,
translation layer is humans reading and writing emails and sitting in between, you know, whatever shipment needs to get done, right? And then we just help them to do these translations faster, and more efficiently, because a lot of the work that they're doing is basically just copy pasting information from A to B, from one format to another format, and
yeah.
they could spend their time with way more valuable and also frankly tasks that are a little bit more fun than that, right? So
Yeah,
that's the
invaluable to the company. I mean, it speeds up it speeds up because there's a lot of time spent, but there's so much value in that interaction. You're speeding up the value extrapolation, I guess, from those emails, right?
yeah, exactly.
And making it much more accurate and getting rid of the loss or the waste that is there. So AI in general, do you like where it's going, or do you see a bunch of hype and kind of laugh at certain things, because it's almost become this thing now where everybody's intermediary is powered by AI.
Hmm.
I mean, they're all, it's like powered by AI, powered by AI. I mean, are they? Is there? What do you see in
Hmm.
the industry right now? Is the hurdles for AI? Because that was one of the things with blockchain when blockchain came out.
Hmm.
As I was part of BITA, Blockchain and Transportation Association, and building people, and my goal out of that of bringing members to it were to strip that hype and find out, does this actually solve something before we blow it up with hype and nobody trusts or thinks anything of it at all. We miss opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually did a webinar on this exact topic last week, about an hour long, just to explain to people, what is hype, what is real, where and how to cut through the noise, And I fully agree. You need to tie it to a specific use case that you can articulate and say, hey, this is how it's going to save me time or make more money, right? And also, this is why AI is the only solution to this problem or the best solution. If there are other solutions that are easier, then you should go with those.
So, but how does somebody do that? I mean, because you're talking to executives who this isn't their core competency, right? I mean, it really wasn't anybody's core competency until a couple of years ago, right? I mean, in the grand scheme of things, right? And so they can't go out and just learn everything it is. They know the hype. So how do they search for something to solve, or should they? Should it just
Yeah,
come up in a normal conversation, going, you know what, this is a loss of jobs of time here, and it's not
yeah.
that efficient. What are the solutions? Oh, AI is one of them. Okay, we'll look at that, but then there's other solutions as well. Is that what you're kind of saying, or?
Yeah, first of all, if you're thinking about the blockchain comparison here, I think in some ways it's similar, in other ways it's different. What's similar is that you have a lot of people moving into the space right now and
Mm,
trying to ride a wave and just add powered by AI everywhere. That's
yeah,
true for sure, and there's a lot of marketing blah blah out there that you can easily tell whether it's real or not by checking, what do they actually do with AI? Can they articulate
mm,
that and does it make sense?
yes,
Or is it
yeah,
just, powered by AI, whatever that means, right? I think executives might not be, they might not be the ones that have to or should carry out the search for these specific solutions, but they should understand the grand theme and then find someone in the organization and send them
yeah,
off to do some evaluations, right? Just basically saying, hey, we have these 5 major topics and we believe AI solutions could be an answer to that. And no, now I appoint you to go out and figure out what's out there. Maybe run some trials, some pilots with these vendors, but make it very clear that you want to tie it to a solid ROI case where you need to understand this is what the solution is doing, this is how this is the math behind it, right? And make it really rock solid so that you don't just deploy something for the sake of it, so that you can also say you're powered by AI.
yeah,
I don't
right,
think this will
yeah,
lead to necessarily good outcomes.
yeah, exactly. It's got to actually bring some value internally, which would then translate to your customers externally, a value add to them as well. That's excellent, excellent advice. Um, Thilo, I love this topic, and we go on forever, but our time is blowing by like crazy. What do you see in the future of AI, or do you care to just not prognosticate and say, "Hey, we're doing what we're doing"?
Yeah, it's very difficult to predict
Is it
anything.
going to take everybody's job away, and everything will just be
Uh,
robotic, and we'll just?
there you have people that believe super intelligence is very
Yeah,
close. I'm not one of those people. I think
gotcha.
we have really good tools, and the models that we have now, there's still years and years of work to be done on building good applications and harnessing the power of those and creating value, right? Than there is to try and build God, basically, right?
Yeah, so you're not predicting like a dystopian environment by
No,
2026 or anything like
no, not at all,
that.
not at all. I think we need to get back to normal and understand. Okay, this is what AI can do. This is what AI can't do. I think overall there will be a shift, just like with any new technology. There, certain jobs or certain tasks in certain jobs might not be required anymore, but those people will find new things to work on, or maybe it's just 10% of the stuff that they're doing, and they can direct that work into something that's more valuable. Um, I think voice AI is becoming more and more powerful these days. So, if it's
Yeah.
simple calls to, for example, calling a carrier and asking, for an update. That's maybe not the type of call that humans should be doing anymore, because it's very simple, very transactional. And then there are
100%.
other types of calls that humans should still be doing, right? So yeah.
Yeah, but when you say voice AI, I go way past the calls to in an office setting
Mm,
producing work and the how we interact and type and with our computers, etc. And I see AI voice or sound uh, compare and combined with visual as well as really speeding up productivity in the
mm.
years to come. Which is kind of nebulous, but that concept is kind of there in my head. Where holy cow, um, walking through the office and then just going, "Hey, check out this chart," and there it is in the middle of the room, and everybody can is really it's a possibility, right?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think about that part of voice AI, but you have potential productivity improvements in both directions, right? Just by helping people interact with existing systems in a better way, but then also making those systems better when they interact with your customers, for example, right? So
Mm-hmm.
both is a flavor of how AI makes everyone's lives better potentially. But then again, you need to kind of understand, okay, this is the use case, this is how we're going to deploy it, this is the return
Yes.
on investment that we're going to get, and
Yeah.
this is how
Yeah.
it's all going to work out, right?
Yeah, it's got to be specific and it's got to be tangible, and somebody's got to be working on it. I mean, case in point, last week, me and a buddy were on and we used Chat GPT to figure out who has not won the World Series here in baseball in the United States. And it very proudly stated that the Texas Rangers have never won, even though they won last year.
Well, yeah,
So there's there's issues that have to be worked through, right? I mean,
exactly.
and it's like every when first AI and ML. Oh my gosh, machine learning was this huge thing. Well, nobody understood really that machine learning was just teaching the machine the same thing over and over a million different times. This is a truck. This is not a truck. Okay,
Mhm.
that's a truck, even though it doesn't look like the previous truck, but that's still a truck. And teaching it all these things over and over and over again. So it takes a lot of work by very smart people like yourselves, and it's very very cool. Thilo, where do people go? I grabbed you off of LinkedIn. I was stalking, nascent technologies and logistics, et cetera. I found it very very interesting, and I think is it Levity.ai?
Yeah, exactly. You can go there, contact us, book a call with us, whatever you want to do, and yeah, get in touch.
Fantastic stuff. Thilo, I really appreciate your time, and I hope your weather is beautiful over there in Berlin, and you have a wonderful rest of your day, my friend.
Thank you. You too.
Right on. Thank you, everybody, for checking out FEI. We'll see you next time. Peace and love.